After spending my last savings fixing up my brother-in-law's truck, he told me to get lost and stop pretending you're family. At dinner, he clinked his glass and announced, "We don't need deadweight like him around." My wife nodded. I walked out and slept in the park. But then I remembered something he forgot I still had. I'm 43. Name's Eric. I've been married to my wife, Dawn, for 8 years. We live, or I guess lived, in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm not the smartest man in the room, but I've worked with my hands my whole life. Construction, auto repair, plumbing, whatever puts food on the table. Dawn and I met through a mutual friend. I was the quiet guy fixing up someone's deck. She was loud, funny, sharp. We clicked fast. Her family seemed warm at first, but I always felt like I was being watched, judged. Her mom talked down to me in a nice tone, like I couldn't tell. Her dad just nodded a lot. Then there was Blake, her brother. Same age as me, but acted like a big-shot teenager. Drove a loud Chevy, got fired from jobs every 6 months, always had a new hustle going. I kept my mouth shut about him for years because I didn't want to make things worse. About 2 months ago, Blake called me, told me his truck wouldn't start. Sounded desperate. Said he couldn't afford repairs and needed the truck to keep his landscaping clients. Told me if I could fix it up, he'd owe me huge. I should have said no. I should have remembered all the times he made fun of me at family cookouts or talked over me like I was a ghost. But I didn't, because I believed helping him would mean something. Maybe even change the way they looked at me. I told him to tow it to my place. That truck was a disaster. The engine was choking, brakes grinding metal, suspension shot to hell. I spent every weekend under that thing. Went to junkyards for parts, used up what little cash I had saved, even borrowed Dawn's credit card to get it done. I told Dawn what I was doing, and she barely said anything. Just nodded, like it was expected. Like that was my job, to fix whatever Blake broke. I replaced the alternator, fuel pump, battery, brake pads, fluids, filters. Hell, I even vacuumed it out, fixed a busted headlight, put a new radio in it. I lost 2 job offers during that time because I was too busy helping him. But I told myself it would pay off. When I gave Blake the keys back, he barely looked at me. Said, "Appreciate it, man," then drove off. No handshake. No offer to pay me back. Just smoke out the tailpipe. A week later, Dawn said we were invited to Blake's birthday dinner. I didn't want to go. Something felt off. But she insisted, told me to just play nice. The dinner was at their parents' place. Big table, lots of food, everyone laughing. Blake was eating it up, taking credit for every little thing in his life. I sat there quiet, tired, and broke. Then he stood up, held his whiskey glass and tapped it with a spoon. Said, real loud, "Here's to knowing when to cut loose the dead weight. Life's too short to carry people who don't pull their own." And then he looked right at me. Everyone laughed, like it was just a joke. Dawn looked at him, then at me, and gave this weak little nod, like she agreed. I couldn't speak. My face was burning. I just got up, walked out. No one followed. When I got home, my key didn't work. The locks had been changed. My name wasn't on the house deed. I sat on the porch for an hour. No one came. No texts. No calls. I didn't even have a bag. Just my wallet, phone, and the same damn work boots I wore every day. I walked to the park. Couldn't bring myself to call anyone. Sat on a bench under a busted street lamp. Mosquitoes tore me up all night. I sat there till morning. Then I remembered something. Blake's truck. He left the spare key in my garage. I still had it. He also left the original title in the glove box when he first dropped it off. And I had all the receipts for the parts one bought. I had old parts in my shed. I even had photos of the repairs I made. Blake thought I was gone. Thought I'd just disappear. But I wasn't finished yet. The next morning, I walked back to my garage. Dawn hadn't changed the lock there yet. Probably forgot. It was separate from the house, at the end of the gravel drive. Inside, everything was just like I left it. Tools hung on the wall. Blake's old brake pads were still in the bin. I opened the drawer where I kept the spare keys. There it was. Chevy Silverado key. I stared at it a long time. I wasn't sure what I was going to do yet, but I knew one thing. I wasn't letting Blake get away with this. Not after what he did. Not after how he humiliated me in front of everyone and left me sleeping on a bench like trash. I still had his title, too. The idiot had left the envelope with the VIN and paperwork in the glove box. I took it out before giving him the truck back. I was going to hand it over later, but then he ghosted me. So now I had the key. I had the title. And I had something else. I had receipts. Thousands of dollars worth of parts and labor, all in my name. That night, I waited until after midnight. Then I walked 5 miles to Blake's place. He rents a house outside town. He brags about the land like he owns it, but it's under someone else's name. His truck was parked in the driveway, shiny and clean. Still had the new tires I bought. I unlocked the door, slid into the seat, and turned the key. It fired up smooth, better than it ever had when he drove it. Then I backed it out slow, rolled down the hill, and drove away in silence. I brought it to a friend of mine, Randy, who runs a private lot behind his auto shop. He owed me a favor, let me park it there, and said no one would ask questions. The next day, Blake started blowing up my phone. Yo, where the hell is my truck? Did you take it? Are you serious right now? You're F*******************************************************************************************************************. I didn't reply. Instead, I went to the DMV, had the title transferred to my name, told them I'd bought the truck for $1 from the original owner, Blake, and had all the paperwork and keys. The lady behind the counter didn't even blink, stamped it, filed it, and that was that. The truck was legally mine now. But I wasn't done. I put up a listing online. Clean Silverado, low miles since repairs, new tires, new brakes, fresh tune-up. Asking price, $8,000. Got 5 offers in the first hour. I didn't sell it yet. I wanted to drag this out. Dawn called me the next day. First time since that night. You took Blake's truck? I didn't answer. What the hell are you doing, Eric? This is going too far. I laughed. Told her, you all made your choices. I'm just tying up loose ends. Then I hung up. That same day, I dropped off a copy of all the receipts, the photos of the repairs, and a signed statement of labor costs to Blake's landlord. The landscaping jobs Blake bragged about? Half of them were on that landlord's property. Turns out he hadn't done half the work he was billing for. A week later, Blake was evicted. But it didn't end there. One of Blake's old clients called me, asking if I still did mechanic work. Said Blake left their mower half disassembled and never came back. Said he took the deposit and ran. I told them I'd take a look. Word got around. People started asking me to fix their equipment. I had nowhere to live, but I had steady work again. Meanwhile, Blake kept calling. His messages got angrier, more desperate. Then came the threats. You're gonna pay for this. You're not family. You never were. I'll make sure no one hires you again. I saved every message. Because I had a plan, and I wasn't even close to done yet. I didn't just want revenge. I wanted the truth out. I wanted people to see Blake for what he really was. And that meant going deeper. A week after I reclaimed the truck, I got a message on Facebook from someone named Tessa. I didn't recognize the name at first. Turns out, she used to date Blake, off and on for a couple years. She found my profile through the truck listing. She asked if I had a minute to talk. I almost ignored her, but something told me not to. When we met at a diner off Tunnel Road, she looked tired, worn down. The first thing she said was, "You're not the first person Blake screwed over, but you might be the first one who fought back." She told me Blake had borrowed $2,000 from her to start a new business a year ago. He never paid her back. When she pressed him about it, he called her crazy, blocked her, and then told people she was stalking him. She said she still had the bank records, text messages, and emails from that time. She even had photos of some tools he borrowed from her dad and never returned. Then she dropped a bomb. You know those landscaping jobs he keeps bragging about? Most of them were subcontracted out. He wasn't even doing the work. He hired high school kids, paid them half, and pocketed the rest. That lined up with what I heard from a few of his old clients. And then she handed me a flash drive. Said she'd been collecting stuff on Blake for months, but never knew what to do with it. Part of her just wanted to forget. But seeing my truck listing made her realize maybe it wasn't over. I took it and said I'd be in touch. Later that night, I went through the drive. There were screenshots, voice recordings, even a copy of an email Blake sent to some guy trying to sell a stolen mower. This was the kind of stuff that could ruin him if it got out. And I still hadn't played my hand. Blake was unraveling. He tried filing a stolen vehicle report. Police showed up at Randy's lot, but Randy had the paperwork. Title under my name. Repairs documented. Cops shrugged and walked away. Then Blake showed up at my garage, banging on the door like a lunatic. I didn't answer. He left a dent in the side panel before speeding off. I filed a report, showed the cops his messages. Now he was on their radar too. A few days later, I drove the truck to a local charity auction and donated it. Full value, tax deductible. Told the guy running the event exactly how I got it. He laughed, said, "Hell of a story, man." Truck sold for $8,400. The money didn't go in my pocket, but Blake would never see it again either. The best part? News about the auction made the local paper. Small article, but the title hit hard. Mechanic donates fully restored truck after family betrayal. I didn't ask them to write it, but someone at the auction passed it on to a friend at the paper. When it came out, Blake's landscaping brand took a hit. Clients started pulling out. His online reviews tanked. One guy posted, "If you want your truck fixed, call the guy who took it back." I started getting calls. Real jobs. Good ones. But the best part? Dawn showed up at the garage 2 weeks later. She looked different. Hair messy, tired, nervous. She said she wanted to talk. Said she made a mistake. That she didn't know Blake would go that far. That she thought I would just come back around, like always. I didn't even open the door. I just said, "You made your choice. Now live with it." Then I turned off the lights. But I wasn't done yet. Because remember that flash drive Tessa gave me? It had more than I realized. One folder was labeled Family Business, and what I found in there would blow this whole thing wide open. I opened the folder labeled Family Business. At first, I didn't get what I was looking at. It was a bunch of scanned invoices, emails, and contracts. But as I read closer, it all started to make sense. Blake had used Dawn's parents' names to sign a lease on a landscaping warehouse 3 towns over. On paper, it looked like a family-run operation, legit and stable. But in reality, it was just Blake using their names and credit to rent the place, and then secretly subletting parts of it to other guys for cash. He wasn't even reporting the income. He was running an off-the-book scam right under their noses. The worst part? Dawn's parents were on the hook for it all. That explained why they always backed Blake. Why they always acted nervous when he was around. He had them trapped. And now, I had proof. I didn't act right away. I wanted it to hurt. I wanted it to hit exactly where it would break him. First, I printed the files. Mailed them to 3 people. Dawn's dad, the owner of the warehouse, and the IRS next. I called Tessa and let her know what was coming. She laughed and said she'd grab popcorn. I waited. 2 weeks later, the fallout started. Dawn's dad called Blake over to their house and threw all the printed papers on the table. A neighbor told me they heard screaming through the walls. Blake stormed out, peeled out of the driveway in some beat-up Honda Civic. The Silverado was long gone, and now he was driving around in borrowed cars again. Then the warehouse owner filed charges. Fraud, lease violation, unauthorized subletting. That came with fines and possible jail time. But the cherry on top? IRS opened a case. Blake hadn't filed proper taxes in over 3 years. He owed thousands. He tried blaming everyone. Me, Tessa, Dawn, even his own parents. But nobody was buying it anymore. He lost his truck, his clients, his family, and now he was about to lose his freedom. As for Dawn, she tried messaging me again. Said she wasn't part of it. That she was just trying to keep peace in the family. I finally answered. I said, "You nodded. That night, at dinner. You looked right at me and nodded. That was your choice." Then I blocked her. She ended up moving back in with her parents for a while. But after the IRS started poking around, she left town. Rumor is she works at a motel 2 hours east. No one really hears from her anymore. Me? I used the truck auction as a calling card. Started a small business of my own. Real work. Fair prices. Folks around town respected me more after everything came out. I got a new place. Not big, but mine. Peaceful. Sometimes people ask if I ever miss them. Blake, Dawn, that side of the family. And I say no, because they didn't just cut me out. They gave me freedom. They thought I was nothing. Now Blake's got debt. No car, no clients, and a permanent record. And me? I've got my tools. I've got my name. And I've got something they'll never have. Self-respect. That truck was just a machine. But taking it back, that was the start of everything.